Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's your boy back again for the Players Ball Podcast, where we cover all sports far and wide. I am your host, Roddy. You can follow me on Twitter at Roddy Remastered, and then also on Instagram at Roddy404. And then more importantly, you can follow us, the podcast, on Twitter and Instagram as well. Our Instagram is going to be the Players Ball Podcast, and then on Twitter it is going to be the Players Ball 1, the number 1. And then you can follow us for right now on YouTube and SoundCloud. We are going to be broadcasting live from the Players Ball Podcast. You can search that on both websites and we'll be able to be found. And we're working on the Apple Music, the Spotify, and everything like that, so please stay tuned. We're working on some guests as well. We're having some, conversations behind the scenes, so everything's looking beautiful. Hope y'all had a good weekend. It's a great Tuesday, and it's been a great week already of sports. And this weekend, we had a Game 7. We'll get into that, but I think it's more important to get into what happened last night, because last night, there was a murder. There was a murder last night. And I don't even know if y'all really remember those, old Goosebumps films. And, they don't really have to do with murders. They had to do with spooky-ish, but it's getting spooky. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm referring to the Nets just absolutely dominating the Bucks 125-86 to take a 2-0 series lead. You heard me right. They won by 39 points last night. Almost a 40-piece. It got all the way up to 49 points. And, I was going to come in here and talk about the Game 7 because that's important with two teams battling to go to the second round. But, with the performance that the Nets put on last night without James Harden, man, they might got it, y'all. They just might got it. That's just it. I don't see anyone beating this team over 4 games. And the only team that I saw beating them over 4 games was the Lakers, if healthy. But obviously, that was an issue all year, and we'll get into them later as well. But, honestly, this is one of the scariest teams that I have personally seen. And let's be honest. That 73-9 Warriors team was great. It didn't have KD, but it was great. Once it had KD, they were still very good, had a great record. They weren't slouches or anything. They might have gotten better. I feel like they did, even though the record was better before they had KD, but they got better. And it was scary, right? But it wasn't this, man. It just wasn't this. It wasn't KD just taking multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, multiple-time MVP just to work, man. Kyrie the same way, just whoever it is, Drew Holiday, George Hill, whoever they throw at him, it's just not working, man. It's just not working. And the Bucks' main problem is they're going to mess around and get down 3-0 because this next game that's coming up on Thursday is the most important of their season, obviously. They can't go down 3-0 to a team who already has a huge competitive advantage, right? And I just don't see them. They haven't shown me anything that's going to make me say, okay, well, they can come back. It's kind of funny, actually, because this is exactly how I felt about Miami against the Bucks last series. It was, man, the Bucks are a great team, but it's still man, they're not there yet. They're not ready. They don't have a whole bunch of guys that are really dynamic scorers. Even Giannis, he can score and he's dynamic, but every bucket he has to get is one he has to work for. And in the playoffs, when defensive intensity, should I say, is raised, then it's going to be more difficult for you to get buckets. And we're seeing the same type of strategy from Budenholzer, which is give Giannis the ball at the top of the key, let him get a pick, and then let him work and try to get his shot off and barrel to the basket. And while it sounds good because Giannis is really big and not really anyone can stop him, right? it's just not a good idea because one, it highly increases the risk of injuries, which it's going to be a problem down the road for Giannis. I knock on wood that it's not. Like, I don't want it to be, but with the way he plays the game, the aggressiveness of going to the hole, everybody's not going to hold up like LeBron. It's just not going to happen. So we have to be wary of that. You have to be worried of, getting him in foul trouble because they're calling an offensive foul a little bit more in the past 2 years than I've noticed, like in the past 5 or so. Like, a lot of guys are more willing to take charges and just get in the way and sacrifice their body, which is great. I mean, it's fantastic that, a piece of the game like that is coming back, even though it's such a judgment call on what is a charge or a block, but whatever. So you have that risk, though, with him getting in foul trouble, getting charges, getting blocks, as well as getting injured with running into people. And then you run the risk of having your others, the ones I talk about that are key in these playoff series, because those are the guys that are going to hold you over when the star goes out, right? When you only have that one superstar and you need them in the game to have that ultimate, firepower, the others are going to be the guys that are really going to need to be relied on in order to get you over that hump. And with the others not playing that well and them being cold and, trying to get Giannis started and having these guys, get it where they fit it, and, it's making it really hard for the Bucks to get anything going. And let's just be honest again, man. Like, the Nets are playing really good defense. Like, it's not as if they're not strapping down and getting turnovers and steals. Yes, there's been sloppy play from the Bucks. Like, we're going to be honest, but man, like, the Nets have really stepped it up defensively. Blake Griffin has really stepped it up, and I really think it's the fault of the Bucks because they definitely should not be letting a guy. I don't think Blake Griffin's over 6'10". I think he's like 6'9", 6'10", but they should not let that guy be dominating like he is against multiple 7-footers. I know it's Brook Lopez. He's not a defensive stopper, but I mean, they're just getting cooked in every aspect. And that's why they lost by 40 points. Like, they're just getting cooked. So Budenholzer is going to have to realize that this strategy that I'm just so glued to, that honestly has got me nowhere in the past 2 years, like, it's going to have to go out the window eventually, man. And he's not really, like, it's not clicking for him. But he's going to see if he goes down 3-0 that it's not going to work, man. It's just not going to work. Having Giannis at the top of the key, trying to make him the facilitator, the scorer, the playmaker, everything, like, all in one is just not going to happen. And it's not going to give you the success that you're looking for. So I don't know what needs to be said to Budenholzer. I really don't. Like, I don't understand why he's not understanding that this is serious now. Like, going down 2-0, in my opinion, in this series, even though I picked the Bucks to win because, I'm stupid. But, I mean, even with that, like, going down 2-0 is a death wish. Like, it's one of those holes that I feel like is insurmountable. So, I mean, look, man, I'm never the one to change my picks. I'm going to go down with the ship, of course. But I can't see the Bucks winning this series anymore. Like, I can't. Like, especially, the loss of DiVincenzo was big. Him defensively, gives you a little relief. So you don't have to have Giannis on KD, or you don't have to have Drew Holiday on Kyrie so much. You can have a guy who's pretty good at defending that can also shoot and stuff for you, defending stars to give your stars rest. But honestly, man, I can't see them winning this series, even though I'm going to stick with my pick, but I can't see them winning. And that's going to be a cause for major changes in the offseason, especially with the coach. You saw what Portland did after they lost, a first-round series, after making it deep in the playoffs. So the regression is not appreciated in this year's NBA, and we're going to see a lot of coaches go down for it. And I can't say that they weren't given a chance, to be honest with you. So we'll continue to watch this series with one eye open, like, because this has just been totally brutal from a perspective of picking it, gambling. We've been awful in this series, so we're probably just going to watch from the sidelines and eat our crow like we should be doing, because all praise to the Nets, man. I really, truly believe that they're going to be our NBA champions at the end of the year. All right, man, you know what time it is. Let's get into the news and notes of the day. Now, we'll start with that Game 7 since we had to move it down a slot because of that drubbing that we saw last night. And honestly, Game 7 was a little bit lackluster. The Clippers, went back and forth with the Mavs a little bit, but that was really due to Luka and his performance, which, I mean, you can't say enough about the kid this playoffs. I really think that, one, he's going to sign that max deal this year in the offseason, should I say, because he smiled about it when he was asked in the press conference. So you know what that means. Like, he's going to sign. But honestly, I mean, you have to do it, the first time that it comes around. You have to sign with the team that's offering it to you, just based off of loyalty. That's how all players are feeling now. That's what all players are doing. I probably would try to explore my options, to be honest, just with everything that we've seen in the past, with guys who signed back to that original team that drafted them, the one that's eligible to give them a lot of money. I wouldn't tell you that you're, stupid for doing it. But in terms of competitively, I think Luka may be better off somewhere else, because it's going to take a lot for this Mavs roster to get to the point where it needs to get to in order for them to be competing for actual championships, but I don't even think they should be viewing that first, like they're not even at that point. They should be viewing at, how do we build a team to win a conference finals? How do we build a team to at least get there? And if we can get there, then maybe Luka can get us over the hump. But depending on how much and how long the Nets are effective for, it really depends on how realistic that is, right? So Luka was great in the game. I really felt like the Clippers still controlled it for the most part, just because, again, they finally started getting stuff from their others. And they finally took a lot of the pressure off of PG and Kawhi to just make and manufacture so much offense and defense that it's just overwhelming for the whole team. So, honestly, they played really well, Dallas. But I think the Clippers always were going to win this one, just because they went into the game saying, well, really the series saying, Luka is going to be great, and we know he is. So let him tire himself out. Let him be exhausted and all that, this, that, and the third. So we can then put our scorers and our role players in positions to win the game. Because, honestly, the Clippers obviously have role players that are better than the Mavericks do, right? But the Mavericks' advantage is that the Mavericks have a star that can not only facilitate and get those guys who are his others hot quickly, he can also heat up in an instant himself, which, the Clippers don't really have that type of facilitator that can get everybody going instantly. It's just up to a matter of, are you guys going to hit shots? When Kawhi and PG and all these guys are driving to the hole, are you guys going to hit shots? And if they do, then they're going to win. And they did big. So you see what they need in this next upcoming series, which I feel like the Jazz have a real advantage in. Honestly, I really think that the Jazz are probably going to win this series, just because defensively they're going to be good. I think they're going to get really good production from Donovan Mitchell, but I could be wrong again, because I picked the Bucks and they're just crapping the bed right now. So I don't know, but it's going to be a good series between the Jazz and the Clippers. Everybody's like dreading it, but look, man, it's going to be a good series. We're going to get slandered either way. So that's what NBA fans want anyway, right? That's what we're going for. So don't worry about it. It's fine. But to keep it going and move it to the Eastern Conference playoffs, the Hawks, my Hawks, our Hawks, for anybody listening, stole Game 1 in Philly with a hobbled Embiid, and they pretty much controlled the game for the entire game until the end. Like a typical Atlanta team, they did it again, right? They got a little tight, what I'm saying? And number one seed, tight, but they pulled it off. They were able to manage their emotions, which is going to be huge in this series, man. And I know the environment of Madison Square Garden is more lively, but I think in comparison, Philly is not super far off in their fan base, and just how passionate they are. Even though I don't really like a lot of Philly fans, I know that they're passionate and I know they're going to show up for their team, similar to Knicks fans. But the difference with them is that, their team is actually going to back it up with their play on the court. They have the talent to do so. And honestly, man, it's just so mind-boggling to me how Philly fans are confident in this team when they have so many holes. And I know I just contradicted myself, by saying that they have the talent to back it up, but they also have holes, right? But the holes that they have are holes that are going to kill them in the playoffs. Yes, you have one of the best players in the NBA. You have I think he's personally, in Ben Simmons, the best defensive player and facilitator in the league when he wants to be and when he's aggressive. But again, it relies on the others to produce, man. It's going to keep coming up in the playoffs, and I'm going to keep saying it. It relies on the others to produce. And if they're not going to have great shooting nights, if there are a lot of guys who, you have the Korkmaz, you have the George Hills, you have the Thybulls, you have the Maxis. They're all good players, but in terms of getting their own shot off the dribble and being able to, just be confident and take the load off of their stars, I don't think you can always rely on them to do that. And Tobias Harris is in that middle ground where he's a high-end role player, but I can't call him a star. I can't call him one of the front runners of the team. But he does have those games where he produces and takes the pressure off of both the others and a little bit off of Embiid and Simmons. So he's going to be the most important player in this series. If he can get off and get his shot and continue to be aggressive, offensively and play solid defense, then I think they have a better chance than they do right now, But honestly, if Embiid's going to be hobbled like this, if Ben Simmons is not going to shoot and miss free throws and get in foul trouble, and if the others are just going to not be able to get their own shot, then how are they going to win this series with a Hawks team who can do all of that, And then the Hawks secretly have the best bench in the playoffs still. Their bench is very deep and complete, and they have shooters and, maybe not the best defensive guys, but they're still a good team, right? So, man, I'm excited for this series. I think it's going to be a great one for the Hawks. Even if they lose it, and I really don't think they will, but even if they lose it, I think they'll give one hell of a fight and make sure Philly knows that in the future this Hawks team is coming. So y'all need to make the arrangements now so y'all can get right. But now, keep going. I'm keeping moving because we had a lot of things. So the Lakers get closed out, and I want to say, how do I say goodbye? And man, it's sad. It's sad, because to see two great players injured for the entire season, it just sucks, man. And it's really something that I didn't want to have happen. I wanted them to get healthy during the playoffs, use this time to, get really into the groove that they were looking to get into during the regular season, but they couldn't due to injury. And the injury part just never went away, man. It just didn't. So, the Lakers are going to really need to sit down this offseason and look at the team again and say, okay, we're great defensively, but the reason that we lost this series is because we didn't really get enough on the offensive end. Yeah, we had major injuries to a major piece of our team, but we didn't really get anything from the other guys either. We didn't have any of those standout performances from KCP, from Kuzma, from Schroeder. There wasn't really a great proclamation of, I'm going to be the guy if LeBron and AD aren't available, that's going to do it. Even THT, who I thought was gonna transform into that guy. He kind of tailed off during the end of the season. So the Lakers, man, they're gonna be back. They just got to get healthy ultimately, but I think they should definitely look at the team because I don't think that they got better from what we saw last year. I just don't think they got better, and I think they need to get better in order to continue to compete for these championships. So it's time for them to take a look at themselves and at what they're doing and if it's the right thing to do. Now, the Blazers also were closed out. Again, another team that needs to look at the team and how it's constructed. And they fired their coach, obviously, and Dame is going to be a part of the new coaching hire, right? But you still cannot just be content with bringing the same guys back. You know, there's obviously something missing, a key cog missing in your squad that is keeping you from going to where you need to go. Because, yes, Denver has the MVP on their team. Yes, Denver has been great this year. But there, in my opinion, should be no reason why you should be getting beat by a Denver team who just, I don't feel like they have more talent than the Blazers. I really don't. Like, Jokic makes up for a lot of deficiencies that they have and the missing of Jamal Murray, but I really just don't feel like they should be beating the Blazers. So you have to look at if it's trading CJ, if it's trading Nurk, if it's trading Norman Powell, you know, who is it that you need to trade, that you need to go get that is going to help your basketball team? Because even though Dame signed that huge contract, we see the player empowerment era makes that contract like almost just a piece of paper, you know, that owes or that, you know, that writes you to having money from the team. Like, that's really simply it. It's not some statement of loyalty like it used to be, right? And honestly, I don't blame Dame for, you know, if he gets to that point, wanting out, because it's just been so stagnant. It's been nothing that's been progressive. You can't say we're here building on this, you know. It's just simply a treadmill type of organization right now. So they need to look at themselves and be honest with themselves on what they can do to improve the team. Really, they do. To keep it pushing, though, in the association, Thibs, he won Coach of the Year over Monty Williams, which is just absolutely absurd to me. It's insane because I don't understand how a man who lost in the first round of the playoffs is winning over a man who just won his first playoff game in the second round last night. Well, not his first playoff game in the second round, but a playoff game in the second round last night in Monty Williams. And I just don't understand. With everything that Monty has been through, he has the feel-good story that, you know, we usually look for in sports to go along with the great performance. You know, it's just too perfect of a story to write for Monty Williams being head coach of the year, but it didn't happen. And a lot of people are upset with the way that, you know, the votes are casted and how people can get a lot of first place votes and, you know, they still can't win. It's just so, I don't know. It just seems like it makes it harder than it has to be. And it's really a lot of politics within it. And I just don't see how Tibbs has 2 Coaches of the Year awards and he hasn't even made it to an NBA Finals. Like, it's kind of baffling to me. But hey, it is what it is. I think Monty Williams would much rather have that title, which the Suns are looking all right, man. I worry about them a little bit because Jokic was getting it going and the others were getting it going for the Nuggets last night, and they were looking good. Obviously, the Suns pulled away, you know, in the second half, but I'm a little nervous. But I think they're good so far, and I think Monty Williams obviously would much rather have that championship trophy on his mantle than any Coach of the Year award. So hopefully they get that this year, all right? But to end our news segment, we're going to end it across the pond with our girl Serena. She lost at the French Open in straight sets, and honestly, man, I love her, but I'm going to be honest, I think it might be the time where she just takes that major step back. I mean, she doesn't owe us anything, though. I don't want this to sound like a bad type of, analysis, because she doesn't owe us anything. She really doesn't. And she doesn't owe us any explanation if she doesn't want to play anymore next year. Like, she doesn't owe us a single thing, man. And to be honest with you, I really feel like, within the next 2 or so years would be a great time to bow out if she feels like she has more important stuff to do off of the court. Obviously she has a child now, so that's her most important priority, right? But even then, if you feel like there's business moves that you can do off the court, there's, whatever you feel like, ownership moves, whatever you think that you can do off the court, if you feel like you're going to be a little bit more impactful than you are on that court now, then I think she should do it, because her legacy still is on the line. We're still going to be talking about, did Serena really have a better career than some of these greats that she's still chasing, So, well, some people would say she's still chasing. I don't think she's chasing anybody. I think she's on her own tier, but that's just me. But Serena, one hell of a competitor. I love her to death. I wish her the best in the future tournaments. I hope that she has a good Wimbledon, has a good U.S. Open, and just ends this tournament season and this major season off well. But I won't be mad at her because, she owes us nothing, man. She really doesn't. All right? So that has been your news for the day. Now let's get into the big three. You already know. All right. It is time for the big three, the three biggest topics in sports today. And I want to start with playing hurt. Now, the stigma of playing hurt and you being like this ultimate macho man, ultimate warrior, tough guy type situation, I don't even know how far it goes back, man. Like, it probably went back to the earliest days of competition in sport. And one thing that keeps players from being smart with their injuries and not playing hurt is their pride. It's the assumption that, so-and-so in the media is going to call me soft. And not every player thinks like this, right? But so-and-so in the media is going to call me soft. So-and-so is not going to say I have the Mamba mentality. And so-and-so is going to think that I can't be a champion. And I say Mamba mentality so sarcastically because I think it's so whack how we do that in the media of saying, we have to place a mentality of an all-time great on every single player in today's day and age, or at least every single player that we feel like is super talented. And it's just dumb to me. And I don't think Kobe would approve of it at all, using his name and his ideology to bash and down another person because they're not equipped with the same tools as Kobe and Mike and all these other legends were. And that's not their fault, man. It's just not. And I don't think using Kobe's ideology, again, is appropriate for this situation. So the main reason I wanted to talk about this is because Embiid is obviously hurt. Like, I don't think anyone who watched that game can come away from it saying that Embiid is even close to 100%. Like, yes, he had a great scoring performance. He dominated in certain areas of the game. He had 30 plus points, right? But he's still hobbling, man. Defensively, he is just not there. Trey was getting wherever he wanted to in the paint. He was taking shots over him. He was throwing lobs over him. And Embiid is a great defensive player. For what he can do on offense, he can do almost the same, if not double, defensively, and vice versa. So honestly, Embiid's health, again, was going to be the biggest part of this series. Everyone who is a betting man was waiting on Embiid to say, I'm 100% healthy. I'm coming out. I'm going to be totally me, no minutes restrictions or anything. And with his play, he didn't show me that at all. And it makes me worried. It makes me concerned for if he should actually be out there playing, because we can take it back, to the early 2000s and look at Andrew Bynum, during his playoff run with Kobe when they went to the finals. He played with a torn meniscus, another big man with a history of lower leg injuries, and the guy was never the same, man. He was just a different player. So it's really hard for me to see the Sixers winning this series if they're going to be playing their guy hurt. And you just saw with AD, him trying to play hurt, and that was just an awful decision by whoever made it. I don't know if it was just AD or the training staff. It had to be a joint type of decision, of course, but it's just, again, you see how it can affect you. You see how bad it can look when it goes bad. And I just don't understand why you would want that as a player. I get you want to play and contribute and help your team, but man, if you can't be 100%, then it's not going to matter if you're on the court or not. Like, you're not going to be helpful. You're just going to be another body out there. So I really hope that these players, stop listening to guys in the media like Charles Barkley, who I love Chuck, but I really don't appreciate him, just mocking AD and calling him street clothes. Yes, he's had a history of injuries. He can't help it, like everybody's like, get a better trainer, get this, get that. It's like, bro, don't you think they've thought of that? Like, why are you just sitting here thinking that they're like, oh, well, we don't know why he's getting injured. He's not doing anything. Like, they're probably spending all of the money necessary in order to be healthy all season long. And you calling him street clothes is not going to help his confidence. It's only going to make him do dumb stuff like this and try to go out and play while he's hurt. So, I mean, I want everyone to be healthy, and I think the time off that this offseason is going to provide is going to be huge, and I think it's more than needed. So, honestly, I just want everybody to be healthy. I don't want anybody to be playing hurt because it's just stupid, and it's going to cause us to not see you in the future and long term, which obviously that's an issue, man. It is. So, I don't know. We just have to get rid of this stigma. That's my stance on it. We just have to get rid of this stigma in sports that playing hurt is cool or it's macho or whatever, because it's dumb. It's really dumb. Now, to move on to topic number 2, I want to ether these two, but it's the pandemic. Everybody needs a bag. I'm currently, trying to figure out financial situations as well. Nobody's really, on the greatest of standings, right? Unless you're a billionaire or a multimillionaire or whatever. But Floyd versus Logan Paul or Jake Paul, it doesn't matter, to be honest, which Paul it was, because they're both irrelevant. And it's just, I don't understand, man. I just don't understand what is the purpose of these exhibitions, I just don't get it. Like, everybody's saying, well, it's to bring excitement back in boxing, da 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 da. And this isn't bringing the excitement back. Having a guy who's retired and having two amateurs, who's probably not going to get into the real ranks of fighting people and contending for actual belts, it just, where does this push the sport forward to? Like, it doesn't even feel like what they're doing, these exhibitions and these just publicity stunts, to be honest. Like, it doesn't feel like it's moving the game anywhere forward, or, it doesn't make it more interesting either, to be honest. Like, it's not this great display of skill. It's just us saying, oh, he's better than we thought. Like, but even in that, like, how good really is he? If he's just better than we thought, like, that bar is so low. And if that's the bar that boxing has sunken down to, then we need some serious, serious, serious help in the boxing world. Because if we're just going to give our money away to amateurs who are just doing this for the hell of it, then we've lost our real purpose for why we started to watch boxing. Like, we lost the reason that we came here. And that's just only going to further taint the sport. If we're looking for the entertainment value that we had back in the 90s and early 2000s, then that's fine. And personally, I don't think that the current boxers who are serious and they are competing for belts, year after year after year, having these, multiple title fights, second, third editions of fights, all that stuff. I don't think those guys personally are doing enough to push the game to where it needs to be. I'll be honest, but it's still not worth giving up the integrity of the sport. And that's what I think is happening here. It's just the integrity of the sport is just being lost, man. And I don't really vibe with it at all. And I can't, because it's just so hard for me to look at somebody who doesn't give a damn about the sport for real. It doesn't matter if you have money and train and put your time into it. If you don't give a damn about the sports for real in order to really put some energy and effort towards making a serious brand to help the sport, then it's just you're irrelevant to me. And that's why I say they're irrelevant. They just are. And I know I sound upset, and I'm gonna calm down, but all in all, these celebrity fights are just, I just don't like them personally. I just can't see how they're moving the needle forward. But you can see Showtime and, these other networks that are broadcasting these fights, they're leaning into it, man. They really are. And they're wanting to have, commentators like Snoop Dogg and Deezus and Mero, guys who are going to entertain you, during the fight. While you're supposed to be entertained by the boxing match, you can also have the commentary entertainment. Of course, we get it. But if we start leaning weights more into entertainment rather than actual integrity and product, then ultimately I just feel like it's going to go left, because that's what everything in America does when it focuses on entertainment rather than integrity. But that's just how I feel. Now, to kick it off with our third one, the U.S. men's national team is here, y'all. I want y'all, if you are a casual soccer watcher or whatever, to start getting into this national team, because they have so much good young talent. This is truly our golden generation, because not only do we have the talent, but the talent is actually getting opportunities. And they're actually going over and playing in Europe and getting opportunities, which is even bigger because, man, we have an American Champions League winner. For anyone who knows how important the Champions League is and how just prestigious it is, knowing that an American hasn't had the chance to win it during all this time that it's been around, it just shows you that shift is really happening now. And a lot of people are, saying that, well, we should have been like this, but it's just false hope. It's just this and that. We can't really believe. I get it. I get that you've been set up for failure a lot, with these past U.S. World Cup teams. But there is this new commitment to the youth, and there's this new commitment to playing the players who play in the best leagues, and not just having the U.S. Soccer Federation say, hey, the MLS funds you, U.S. men's national team, so y'all need to give the MLS some love, because these are the players who are earning y'all the money to be able to afford to do the things that y'all do, right? So that pressure, it just doesn't feel like it's there anymore. And now that we have McKennie, who's at Juve, Gio Reyna, who is at Dortmund, Dest, who's at Barca, Pulli, who's at Chelsea, who just won the Champions League, you have all these guys who they're finally investing in, and it just feels good. So the Nations League Cup, when that they just won on Sunday, it feels like the step in the right direction, because it's been a long time. We've had a lot of fool's gold in the men's national team, but I think it's now finally the time where we sit down and say, hey, these guys are for real and they deserve to get respect. So I'll be watching them. I really love what they've been doing, and I wish nothing for the best for them. I'm super excited for this year's World Cup, but I'm even more excited for the next year's, should I say, World Cup. But I'm even more excited for the 2026 World Cup that is going to be hosted in North America, because that is when some of these guys are finally going to have that, time to really develop and be in their prime. So it's going to be scary, man. Look forward to talking about the U.S. men's national team now that they're finally being a serious organization. All right, but that will do it for the Big Three as well as our show today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, you can follow us on Instagram at ThePlayersBallPodcast and on Twitter at ThePlayersBall1. You can also follow me at Roddy Remastered on Twitter and then at Roddy404 on Instagram. We thank you for your support. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this. Do anything you can. We really appreciate you guys being down with us and consistently coming back every week. So I couldn't ask for more, But we'll keep working to make the show better, make it more interesting, make it more entertaining, and make it so that it can be a part of your daily life. All right? Thank you for listening, and we will talk to y'all on Thursday. All right? Peace.